started your master's in Kenya, but then you transferred to
No,
University
no,
of
no.
Stirling.
So this is how it worked. When I
Okay.
was in my undergrad, I was looking for funding. And one of the opportunities I was looking at is the Pan-African University funding, that is scholarship by African Union. And then I went crazy on applications. Like every single one that just comes up, I would apply.
Why didn't you return to Kenya after the program? Because
There's another statement, unless you have a PhD offer.
wow, and that is fully funded.
I don't know how you define fully funded, but it's funded in the sense that you're provided with stipend and fees.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's good money.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't complain.
Did you consider other countries or just the UK?
Okay, I mentioned Monash.
The reason I asked this was, traveling to a new country, right? When you got to Scotland, did you get any help?
Ah man, I think I was not a serious person. I didn't know what to do, where to go. So my mind was like, let me just get to the other side. I'll figure it out. But now when I got to this other side, the figure it out aspect just disappeared. Why? Because things were not as I expected. Everybody's minding their own business. I mean, everybody's just passing. I had my ticket in my phone and now I cannot access the internet. So some of it is so gross with some funding opportunities that if you go there underprepared, it is going to get you in a very, very tough fix. I know it is a good school. It's not like I think. I know it is. I applied to 43 scholarships.
Okay, but
instead of 143 applications, you could make 7 good applications.
All right, before we start, consider subscribing to the channel. This helps me so much. Thank you.
Okay.
You were working as an investment analyst in Kenya for how many years?
I did. Okay. I was in finance for 1 year.
Okay.
Then I was an investment analyst for 6-7 months. Before now, I got into an investment analysis master's. Then we ended up here in a PhD. So I had my graduation in 2020. So between 2020 and 2022, that's when I was working.
So graduation, you mean your bachelor's degree, right?
Yeah, my bachelor's. I earned my bachelor's in 2020. Mm-hmm.
So then why did you decide to quit your job at the time?
Let's say I didn't quit. I'm looking for growth. When you are young, there are things you want to do. And for me, I felt like I wanted to have some good learning. So, and these are things I came to appreciate as life goes on. So I did my bachelor's. I finished. Then I went to the industry. I worked for 1 year, 7 months. Then I realized there are a lot of things I don't know, and I can still improve my knowledge and learning. So I went for a master's degree. I went for a master's in mathematics data science at the Pan-African University. That's in JKUAT. It's in Kenya. Then during that process, after my first semester, during the second semester, I got a different funding. So I came to the University of Stirling in the UK. So that's where I did a master's in investment analysis, which was the same job I was actually doing. So then after that, after the master's, I transitioned directly to the PhD. Yeah.
So you started your master's in Kenya, but then you transferred to University of Stirling.
So this is how it worked. When I was in my undergrad, I was looking for funding. I wanted to do a master's. So I was trying a couple of opportunities. And one of the opportunities I was looking at is the Pan-African University funding, that is scholarship by African Union. And this was a master's in data science. It was a 2-year master's. Then during that process, I had also applied for a master's degree in investment analysis at the University of Stirling. So that's where I was, as I applied for, I think, one scholarship, that is the Commonwealth Scholarship. But I had already made some prior applications years before, so just to get familiar with the system. So when I was doing these masters, Commonwealth comes around July. I think it's July, August. So at that time, I was already into the Pan-African University. So Pan-Africa, I was doing a master's degree in mathematics. I was specializing in data science. Then this master's that came in was investment analysis, which was my job because I was an investment analyst. So I was like, this master's is just 1 year. How about I go finish this master's? I defer my master's in PAU, that's the Pan-African University. Then I come back and finish it. because it was mathematics, data science. Then when I got here, I found a PhD opportunity that helps me continue with whatever I wanted to work on during the masters. So it was more or less like I could still achieve the same thing I wanted to achieve when I was doing my masters. So I opted now to proceed just to the next step. Yeah.
So the University of Stirling, the scholarship you got, it was a Commonwealth Shared, right?
Yeah, it was a shared one. So, we have Commonwealth Masters and we have shared. So I was in the shared one.
Huh.
Yeah.
How did you get that scholarship?
I don't know. Did you try making an application during your time?
Yeah, when so I applied to US schools, and then people were talking about, UK, there is no application fee. So I applied, I got admissions, but I tried a Commonwealth Share, I didn't get it. That was in 2016. Yeah.
So how it happened for my case, I always wanted to do this masters. Okay, I was not very specific on the program I wanted, because I could have done actuarial science for my masters, or I could have done data science or investments or anything that was more or less in that area of finance.
Yeah.
So when the Commonwealth Scholarship opened, I applied for Commonwealth Masters Scholarship. And this Commonwealth Masters, I was supposed to send some documents to the embassy, to the higher education, what is it called? Ministry of Education in Nairobi. So I wrote my documents, I took them there, and I didn't know there was Commonwealth Shared. So after 4, 5, 2 or 3 months, I think, I saw the same opportunity I had applied. It's still open. I was like, but this thing closed. So by that time, I didn't know there was a difference between these two.
Okay.
So I went to check. This time, you see, let me give you some backstory. The first time I made an application was in my second year, undergrad. So in Ghana, you can call it year 200 or level 200.
Yeah.
So during my level 200, I made an application to a university called the London South Bank University. So I was applying, funny enough, I was applying for a master's degree. So when I applied to this scholarship, so that was my first ever master's scholarship outside Kenya that I applied to. So when I applied, these guys rejected me on grounds that I was still way too far from my graduation, right? So they told me, if you want this, you may want to apply when you're close to your graduation.
End of the program.
But then in that process, so I was introduced to this whole scholarship thing. So I was rejected on that. Then I waited until I was in my third year. And then I went crazy on applications. Like every single one that just comes up, I would apply. But still, one thing I didn't consider is like I still had a whole more than 12 months. So remember, this was 2018. So 2018, I was in my level 300. And now I needed to complete my studies at 2020 April. So I still had something like 18 good months to go. Now, when I made my application, so I started making these random applications. I made application to Chevening. Chevening needs 2 years experience, but I made an application anyway. I made an application to Commonwealth, both Commonwealths, but now I didn't even know the difference. So in that process, so for me, that was like a learning process.
Yeah.
So that's how I learn. So I apply, I get rejected, then I see. So the first thing is this thing is authentic. Then the second thing is how the process works. So by the time I got to my fourth year, I knew all this stuff. Like I knew which one is a scholarship that funds you to go where. So precisely, I wanted to go and do a master's in actuarial science at the University of Kent. And there's another one, Heriot Watt, here in Scotland. And there's another one in London. It's called Cass Business School. So I made applications to these 3 different universities. I was intending to apply for a scholarship provided by the IRA in Kenya, the Insurance Regulatory Authority. So that is a scholarship specifically for actuarial science. But now their bar was too high. So the first thing they asked was they needed you to have a first class. So by level 200, by second year, I already knew I need a first class. So I went in for that. So the other thing they wanted some professional exams, 5 papers. So that is one thing I did not have. So when I made these applications to these universities, so the universities start writing back to you. They tell you you have now been offered. So I was offered like an unconditional offer during my last semester in fourth year. So the only condition that remained was you need to graduate. You need to provide your results. So that's how I ended up making this. Sorry. So the unconditional offer I was offered was in the second semester, and now I was given this feedback, and I was told you can apply to other scholarships like Commonwealth, like
Mm-hmm.
Chevening, and they're also university funding. So that's where now I started knowing these scholarships. So I went all in. Yeah, that's how it started.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you got the Commonwealth. Why didn't you return to Kenya after the program? Because I interviewed Ray. He told me that the Commonwealth Shared requires you to go back home after your after the program.
So
Is that
unless okay, there's another statement. Unless you have a PhD offer.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
And
I
yeah, go on.
could have, and I will eventually go once I'm done with my PhD. The thing is, I needed to finish this first. You know, time
That makes sense.
is running, and I don't want to be a student all my life, so I need to be doing other things. So I was like, let's get done with this, because I already had a research idea, I already had a PhD offer. Then why don't we do it? So I went ahead and I was offered this PhD. So that's how I got there.
Wow, that's amazing. But why didn't you do the PhD in the same university?
Okay, for one, I wanted something quantitative. Remember, I was doing a master's in Kenya, so I had two options: go back and finish that master's, or get a PhD that will enable me to get the same thing I was doing, but at a PhD level. So if I was to get that in my university, I actually applied, because I applied to 8 PhDs. So out of those 8 PhDs, one of them was the one I was rejected. I was rejected by Stirling for a PhD, but it was a PhD in mathematics. So I was in the business school and I applied for a PhD in mathematics. So they couldn't offer me because they felt I did not have a strong background in
Background,
mathematics.
yeah.
Although I could not prove that because the transcripts from the other side were not available. So they told me, we cannot take you because of this and that. So I didn't make it to that PhD. But then I made a separate PhD that I was going to do research in machine learning. And then I got an offer. So I made a few other PhD applications. I applied to Birmingham. I applied to Bath. Bath is in England. I applied to Monash. Is it in Australia? Then
Yeah, I think so.
then
I was familiar with that university way back. Yeah.
then I applied to Strathclyde, where I am at the moment. I applied to another university here called Edinburgh for another PhD also in mathematics. So I was either looking for a PhD in mathematics or quantitative finance. So those are the only two things I was looking at. Yeah.
So what you got was quantitative finance, right, at Strathclyde?
So I got Mansai. So I'm technically doing machine learning, explainable machine learning for my research.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that is fully funded.
Yeah. So I don't know how you define fully funded, but it's funded in the sense that you're provided with stipend and fees. So it's a whole fee, like they pay all your 3.5 years fees, and then they're also going to give you the stipend. So you're going to be given around 19,600 per year, but it
A
is
stipend,
usually revised every year.
stipend only.
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
I don't know if it's a lot, but yeah.
Is that enough for you?
No, I'm not saying it's not enough. I'm saying I don't know if it's a lot, but yeah, I know it's a lot. It's a lot. It's
Because it's
sufficient.
pounds, right? Pound sterling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of
Yeah,
money.
it's good money. Yeah, I can't complain.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's
So
how
the
it
scholarship
works.
comes from the school or external
So
scholarship?
it's funded by Economic and Social Research Council, ESRC. So it's under the UK UKRI UK Research and Innovation, something like that. So UKRI has different fundings, like it has ESRC, it has BBRC, it has EPSRC for engineering, so and such kinds of RCs. So for somebody who is, for example, interested in things that are more or less finance, social sciences, and the likes, they are going to ESRC. People who are interested in the engineering stuff, they are going to be EPSRC. People who are interested in things like geography, they are going to, biology, they are going to be BBSRC. Yeah. So I was awarded this one for ESRC. So that is the one that funds my studies. Yeah. Yeah.
Was it like a separate application, like a separate scholarship application, or once you get admission, you're automatically considered for the scholarship?
So how it works is, the first thing is you need to approach a prof. The same way you could call a cold email. Personally, I usually call it an expression of interest. So you approach a prof, you tell them that I have this idea, I would like to work under your supervision. And that's how it usually works with most UK universities. So once you approach them, they will be like, it's a good idea, we can work together. If it's a good idea, according to them. If it's not, then they can tell you, like, I don't know what they can tell you. So I approached this guy, this prof. I approached actually different unis. So I told you. So the ones who got back to me with something positive were like 3. Then this one from Strathclyde. So I'm at the University of Strathclyde. It's in Glasgow. So this one from Strathclyde was the first one to come. So we met with the professor. We discussed the idea and what they are looking for. Then once we did that, I submitted my application for funding. That was the first step. So the first step is you write your application for funding to the ESRC, the Economic and Social Research Council. Then if you are awarded this funding, so there's you can apply with your own project. You can apply with a funded project. So if you're applying with your own project, you need to pitch that project, but the process is more or less the same. But you need to so the first thing is you approach the prof, then you link up with the prof, you make an application to ESRC for funding. Then after that, you're also going, because they're going to give you a letter saying that they're going to support you as a supervisor. But then if not, then you're going to apply for a project directly to the prof and ESRC. So they're going to vet you, and then they're going to give you an offer. Once you get an offer for funding, they're going to tell you now apply to a university. So you can still get an offer for funding and not get accepted at the university. So you apply for the offer, you do an interview, they vet you. Once you're offered that opportunity, then now you go separately and make a separate application for a PhD at that specific university, and you have to meet their criteria. So actually, for me now, the harder part was the PhD path. Yeah, that was actually what proved to be a little bit more challenging.
Okay. You mentioned meeting with the prof. Was it like one-on-one, like as in person, or like
No, it was
on a
on,
call?
actually, for all the cases I met the profs. So for my prof, I met him online. But I
Okay.
had already also met 2 other. So one from Birmingham, that was also online. I had also done one interview from Exeter, that was also online. So all the 3 cases were done online.
So with every university, you reached out to one professor or several professors. How did you
No,
do
so
that?
for me, I reached out to one specific prof. So I'd go to the university profile because I'm interested in quant finance or financial mathematics or mathematics. Then I'd look for somebody who is interested in math and finance. Then I'll write to them saying, this is my idea, this is what I'm doing. So by that time, I was in my first semester for my master's. I just got into my master's and started applying for my PhD right away. So I wrote to them, I told them, this is my idea, this is what I'm doing. If you can accept me as your student, blah blah blah. Yeah. So you look at the research interest. So this person is interested in ABCD. Then after that, I contact them because their research aligns with my research. I tell them I want to apply to this university, but the first step is I need a supervisor. Could you kindly be my supervisor? This is my idea. I'm happy to have a discussion. So the next step, they would be like, come on board, let's discuss this idea first, then see how it goes.
After you secure a supervisor, does the supervisor play a role in the scholarship you get, or it is just for you to get a supervisor and that's all? How does that work?
Okay. One, the supervisor is the one who says this is fit or not. Because, okay, that is in my understanding, because I've never been on the other side of recruitment. But then there's no way you can get into an institution without a letter of support from your supervisor saying like, this is a good student, blah, blah, blah. So depending on the path you're following, if you are applying for, and I know this for many other funding opportunities, actually, not necessarily EPSRC or ESRC or BBSRC, but there is something called a letter of support. It might come with other different names, depending on your jurisdiction. So so you speak to a supervisor, and the supervisor says you are an ideal candidate based on your conversation. So then from there, now we can pick it from there, saying because they're going to ask you if you have had any prior contact with a supervisor at that institution. If yes, then what is the status? Maybe now they would have provided with a letter of support saying, this is, I'm happy to work with this student, and this is what we have agreed to work on with. So that is it. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Did you consider other countries or just the UK?
Okay. I mentioned Monash. So I only applied for Monash in Australia because when I was doing my masters, these guys from Monash had a relationship with the department. So they were specifically looking for a student from the uni. I don't think it was strictly from that uni, but at least from some unis which they had relationships with. And whatever I wanted to do, quant finance was on the list. So I was like, why not try? Because the only thing they needed was you only needed to write a letter, just a one-page letter saying you are interested in this, why you are interested, and your current status, like in terms of your performance in your masters. So that they can come take you from there. You go on an open day at the university, you see the university before now you can proceed to make an application. So unfortunately, I did not make it. So that is the only one that I considered outside the UK. But then the seven others were in the UK, of which out of those 7, 4 did not go anywhere. Because sometimes I think I have an explanation for that. I hope that explanation sometimes is supposed to make me feel better about it. But then I made these applications in my first semester, right? No results, no nothing. So it's just me promising to graduate with this grade. I've not even sat a single exam. Then
Okay.
the other ones now, they came in during now the towards the second semester. So the 3 that I actually had interviews and discussions. So those ones I already had something tangible, like this is my transcript, these are my grades. So at least I know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So you see,
that makes
that's
sense.
where now the difference comes in.
Yeah. And even before going to the UK, did you consider other countries, or you were just focusing on avoiding the application fee?
Okay. Actually, here is what now made me. There was one thing. I think I applied to a lot of countries because I usually say I made 43 applications. But and I like to give an explanation to that. I made 43 applications. Most of them were during my level 200, 300, and 400. So they were expected to fail. But then I made these other applications to China, I think. I never considered US at all. I never considered Canada. So I think I made one to China. I made one to Australia. I made one to the UK. Yeah, just those 3 countries.
I see.
And I think probably it must have been either because they never charged or because there was, for me, the information was more reachable at that time. And now the more I kept applying, the more I kept failing, the more I felt like now I have to get them so that you don't feel like you wasted so much
You love
time.
the challenge.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I mean, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the ESRC, right? That's the scholarship you got, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yes,
How
sir.
many students get it?
So ESRC is usually advertised as a home and international student funding. I don't know if the number is correct. I don't know if it's 30 or 60. So I don't know, one of those two numbers during our time. And those students, they're going to give 30%, at most 30% to international students. Then at least 70%. So if it's at most 30%, so at least 70% is going to be for home students. So when I saw it, I was like, why not? I mean, I can be part of that 30% because they say we are going to take only 30% and 30% exceptional candidates are going to be given a maximum of 30. So I was like, okay, if there is going to be somebody, then I will be one of those. So I made my attempt. That's how it worked actually. But
I
they
see.
are for home and international students. And now
Mm,
when they are advertised, they're usually advertised. So you see, like if you go to a website called Find a PhD, or you go to
mm,
jobs.ac.uk, you'll find them. I mean, like this is public information. You can find them there.
mm.
But how they're framed, you may feel sometimes like you don't have chances because they would say, I. Sometimes they would say we only fund home fees unless. So for you as an international student, you could focus on that unless part. They say unless you are an exceptional candidate, then you will be offered a full fee waiver, something like that. So for me, that was my case. So I focused on the unless part. But I also know a lot of international students who have them. Yeah.
Let me just get this. Uh, Strathclyde is in Scotland, right?
Yes.
And then what about Stirling? Is it in England or Scotland?
It is also in Scotland.
Okay. Is there any difference between schooling in England and then in Scotland? Do you know?
Okay.
Just asking. Yeah.
This okay, the natives can tell you the difference. I don't know that, but okay, I'm aware there is a difference.
Mm,
But then that is the farthest I know because I know like for PhDs they are more or less follow the same format. But for I think is it undergrad? So things start changing. Like they have their own unique system that applies within because here we have SQ levels. So they do it's like SQ7, SQ6, SQ. So like the highest. So the PhD is the highest. It has the highest level, like SQ something, which is the highest. I don't have that number offhand. So SQ means Scottish qualifications. So, but there is also an equivalent for England. But then it can be treated across board, like more or less the same. Yeah. But I don't want to claim with certainty that there is a similarity.
yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Was the UK the first place you traveled to outside Kenya?
except Uganda.
You went to Ghana?
Uganda.
Uganda. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uganda.
I think outside Africa, not necessarily like outside Africa because it was my second country, but then Uganda is just home. I mean, like you can't feel the difference between Kenya and Uganda. So yeah.
I see. The reason I asked this was, traveling to a new country, right? When you got to Scotland, what was, did you get any help? How did you, take care of the first few days at least?
Ah man, I think I was not a serious person. So when we were leaving Kenya, Commonwealth did what we call a pre-departure briefing. So in a pre-departure briefing, you guys are told what you guys are supposed to do beforehand before you go to the other side.
Mm, yeah,
You need to book an hotel. Okay, if you want to go early or you need to such kind of a thing. So when I got here, it was on I think a Thursday evening. So I had an oversight. I did not take that information very seriously. And I assumed things were going to be the same way they're in Nairobi. Because when I'm in Nairobi, I mean, these itineraries, you don't have to worry so much about them. You can go and get an hotel overnight and sleep there. So what I didn't know is like these places can be packed, like an hotel can be booked even up to the next, it is full up to the next 3 weeks. But at the back of my mind, I was like, I will go get to the other side, get an hotel, and then rest there. Now, I took my flight and landed in Edinburgh. It was around midday. So this it is organized by Commonwealth. So they booked my flight. It was getting me here midday. They also gave me a train ticket to Stirling. So when I got here, I didn't know what to do, where to go. Like I had not even. The thing is, I had not even thought about. So my mind was like, let me just get to the other side. I'll figure it out. But now when I got to this other side, the figure it out aspect just disappeared. Why? Because things were not as I expected. Everybody's minding their own business. I mean, like just everybody's just passing. My phone could not connect to the internet at that time. I didn't know even how to work around it. So I met this guy on a plane, and so we were having a rough time getting off the plane. We had some passengers who were really rowdy. So I think they were drunk, so they started some fracas. There was this middle-aged man, not middle-aged, actually almost retiring, around 50s. So when we were getting off, I was like, okay, I stepped back and told him. So the aisle, so you know those walkways. I told him just pass before I can follow. He was like, okay, thank you. Then he left.
Nice.
But I noticed him. So when I got to the other side, I didn't know, like everybody's just gone. I mean, like everybody looks like they know where they're going. I didn't know where I was going because I had my ticket in my phone and now I cannot access the internet. So I went to this. So I saw this guy again standing somewhere at the end of the, when you get off the train or of the plane, there's this whatever the walkways they call it. So I saw this guy standing at the other end. So I was like, let me try to catch up with this gentleman, then ask him. So I went to him and asked him,
Is he Kenyan?
No, he's Scottish.
Okay.
So I went to him and asked him, I'm going to a place called Stirling, and I don't have anything on me. The only thing I have is I had £100, which I came to realize was a very small amount of money. So I had £100 and my bags. Then the guy tells me, okay, so how can I help you? I was like, I don't know where Stirling is. I don't even know where I'm going to take a bus or a train. I just showed him. I told him I have a train ticket, but I don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, I'll wait for you on the other side. I'll show you where to take the bus. So we went out to do our checkout, and then he waited for me. I went to clear with the immigration. When I got to the other side, while we were waiting, so he asked me, my wife is around. So he ordered a cab. So he ordered a cab and he told me, I'm going towards that direction. Would you like to join me? I was like, okay, fine. I mean, like you've already ordered a cab. So I opted to join him. The cab guy cancelled. But then he said, my wife is around. Let me call her. She'll come pick us. So 20 minutes later, the wife comes. Then she picked him and me. And she also had with her like a kid. Then somewhere along the way, so he asked me, so after something like 15, 20 minutes, he asked me, now you're going to Stirling. Are you going to uni or you have booked an hotel? I was like, I will actually get to Stirling first, then I will look for an hotel. He was like, huh? He almost, I think now I understand. He could have told you, he could have wanted to tell me that's not how things work out here. So he told me, what do you think? We go to my place, we have dinner, then we can take you to uni. So at the back of his mind, he was like, this guy is headed for trouble because there's no way he's going to get a room. So I asked him, would you take me to Stirling? He said yes. Okay, they took me to their place. We had dinner. So they call it tea. I don't know why. So we had tea in the evening. And then, so he told me, actually came head on and told me, actually, you finding a place to stay here is going to be difficult. And you have £100. So I told him I have £100. I had 3 days to stay, right? Before my uni accommodation opens. So those 3 days, you're supposed to spend at least 100 to £120 per day. So whatever I had was not even enough for a day. So he told me, you can stay at my place. He had a big house.
Wow.
He had a big house, so he had some empty rooms. So he told me, you can stay at one of these rooms. So he gave me a room and I stayed there.
Wow.
So that was the first day. The second day, he took me to uni, blah, blah, blah. That's how I started life in
Wow.
Scotland.
Wow, such an angel. Wow.
Yeah, this is a nice guy. He's a
Wow.
very nice guy.
And you guys are still in touch, right?
Yeah, we of course. So that's how I started this. So when I got to uni, these guys offered me. So I was to go to uni accommodation. So my accommodation was provided by the university, and it was supposed to be opened. And okay, I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, they cannot give you accommodation before. Like if so, these guys, like if they say we are going to do it on 20th, then you can't come before 20th. It's on 20th.
Yeah.
So I had to wait until that day. My appointment was on, I think 20. I don't know. I honestly don't remember the dates, but somewhere around 25th, 24th. But I know it was on a Monday at 11 in the morning. So this guy drove me there with my bags. They helped me settle. Yeah, that's how my life started in Scotland.
Wow. The good thing is you could speak English, because imagine if you couldn't speak
Oh
English.
my
I
goodness.
mean,
I think that could have been
you'd have been
even
in
a bigger
trouble.
disaster. Yeah, it could have been a
Yeah,
bigger
you'd have been
disaster.
in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Given the struggles you went through, did you meet Kenyans there, in your school?
Yeah, so when I got to uni, actually, when I got to uni, so during this whole
Yeah.
process, I was also in contact with my prof on the other side, and he told me, so I think they did not expect that kind of oversight, because it was a lapse that I should have taken seriously. You see, you've not traveled this country, so you don't know how these things are. Until you get to travel, then you will know how these things are.
Yeah.
So they assumed I had followed those instructions as they are, but I didn't. So when I got here, and I didn't know like what happens. So I dropped my profile email. I told him, I mean, like, I'm in Stirling. I'm trying to figure out what to do next. So while we were, this guy was driving me to his place, because at that time we had already not mentioned about. So they sent me links to hostels. So there are hostels here and hotels. In that process, there is a Kenyan prof in that department, but he was also not around. So like, it was the beginning of the semester had not even started. Like the community had not even been built up. So I was just in my own world. I did not do proper research.
Yeah.
Coming in after getting to uni, 2 days into the uni, I actually realized there was a community, a Kenyan community there. So if I had done proper research, I could have known all these guys even before I came.
Well, it's one of those things, right? It's just life, right?
Yeah, sometimes you need to really look forward, and then
You take a lot of things for granted. But as a student, what is your day like? Like when you wake up, normally what do you do?
okay, when I'm doing my PhD.
Yeah, as a PhD student.
You see, PhD is different. It's not like a master's. So most of the time I'm actually here on my desk reading, so I'm a night person. I work mostly at night or maybe late evenings at night. So there's the reading aspect. So where you're doing research. Then besides that, I do have some other things I'm studying on. So I either do research for like 4 or 5 hours. There's also building a model. So I'm researching while I'm modeling, because you need to write, you need to communicate, right, in writing, but at the same time, you need that model to be working. So most of my time goes into either reading, writing, or modeling. Now, when I'm off completely, I'm here podcasting or writing stories. I used to write stories on the management diary, but then it did not. I got too busy, so I stopped. I discontinued that. So I just stuck with podcasts alone. So those are the things that, like, I try to do. So on a normal day, the days are never the same. At least I could say that for a PhD. The days are never the same. But if I was to try and make it look nice and fancy, is I'd wake up, get some breakfast, prepare. Of course, sometimes I go work out. Sometimes I don't when I'm not feeling it. Then sit down, read, write, read, write. Then in the evenings, when now my mind is very active, I can try to build the model that I'm working on. So yeah.
You said you write stories. Is it the same as the novels that you write?
Okay.
Or
But
they're
now
different?
for the management diaries, I could come to you, Shai, and talk to you for some time. You tell me your story. And then I write that story down into a post, a long post. It used to be very popular on LinkedIn, but then I stopped. So I could write a long post about how you've come to get where you are. So it's more or less like I can take this podcast and summarize it into one post. So that's what I used to do. Like it helps me let off steam. So for me, it's my way of releasing stress.
Wow.
Yeah. So when things are not working, I just sit down with people, listen to their stories, then write down, and yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You actually post a lot about scholarships on LinkedIn. Like it's like every day. Every day is like yeah, you posted something about scholarships and application stuff and all of that. Okay, so let's talk about the management diary.
Mhm.
When did it begin and why do you do what you do?
I think I'll begin with the why. It's because of my
Mm,
experience. I realized people don't know stuff. Like, okay, I don't want to say people, but a lot of people, a good number of
yeah,
them, don't know
yeah,
what they're getting into. Because I'm not discouraging anybody, but sometimes a scholarship can be a blessing and a curse at the same time. You might think you're going to live a good life, then you find yourself the other side, and vice versa. So sometimes I feel like there's a disconnect between the information we are getting, the correct information we are getting, and what we should actually be taking into consideration. Because Shai, I'm coming to the US. I don't know anybody in the US. The only thing I know is the material that was provided by the funding organization. Somebody like me, I don't read everything. If you don't, like, I'd rather, if it is audio, I listen to it while I'm working. But reading, I would I'd read most of it, but there are things I would skim. The same way you skim terms and conditions. So you might miss some very important information. And life abroad is so romanticized in a way that we get it wrong. We get it wrong, like very wrong. Even here in the UK, I don't want to lie, and I know this is gonna be on record, but it is not what people see. Honestly, it's not what people see.
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree.
When you go to when you if you sit down, I sit with the scholars. I hosted you on my podcast. I don't know if I asked you this question, but every time I sit with a scholar, I usually get to ask them, "How are you?" Like at the end of the conversation, once we are done recording, then I can ask you, how actually are you doing as a person? There's so
Yeah,
much
there's so much. Yeah,
that is not even recorded in those podcasts. Some of it is so gross with some funding
yeah,
opportunities that
yeah.
if you go
So
there
yeah,
underprepared, it is going to get you in a very, very tough fix. Because, Shai, you are going to be there for a whole year. You're somebody who probably wanted to. So you're somebody who have been working in your country. You're making a good salary. Maybe you are even a manager. You even have a car. So you get this funding. You're like, let me go and do my masters for 1 year or 2 years, or a PhD for 3-4 years. You get to the other side. The amount of money you're getting does not match, like cannot give you the kind of lifestyle you wanted.
Yeah.
There are a lot of expectations. People are paying black tax. I don't know if you know black tax. I hope you do. But people are paying black tax. People are some people have also their own personal expectations, and they have to keep up with, like their career interests and where they want to go.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot of, one, misinformation, and
Yeah.
two, underinformation.
Mm.
So before that, I could go and so I used to write about myself, my experiences, and people would be like, "Oh, no, this is just your own personal experience. So don't discourage us based on your experience." I was like, "Okay, fine." Then I was like, "How else can I share this information so that people
Yeah.
actually know what to expect?" So at that time, I used to write a lot about scholarships. So because during my time, I made a lot of a lot of trials. I told you I made 43.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those 43, I made them because I didn't know who to go to ask for guidance, right? So I could make a trial, I fail, but from that failure, I learn, right? So I know if you have to do this, the first thing is you have to try that. So the next time I will update wherever I failed on the first one. When it goes through, I know that is how it works. But now at this stage also I've failed because of this. So that by the time I was getting to after level 400, after fourth year, at least I knew exactly where it goes. Because after fourth year, I only made 7 applications, of which out of the 7, I got 5 and I lost 2, right? So
Yeah.
it means like, but that was a painful process, going for 43 applications over and over and over, looping. It's not something very nice.
Tiring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not everybody will. So I started writing about funding. I started writing about the scholarships. Every other day, I would wake up like 365 days a year. I can tell you a new scholarship every single day for the next 365 days. I do that on my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So like I can tell you a different funding opportunity that has opened every single day without repeating even one of them. So, but now the question is, I got to a point, I asked myself, how useful is this information I'm providing? Because I'm spending a lot of time giving you these opportunities every day, but some of them I've never even applied them myself. So I could go there and make a very nice video about how to apply to Schwarzman scholarship in China, or maybe what's the other one? Maybe one scholarship in the US, Fulbright,
Yeah. Rotary.
or
Okay.
Venia
For Bright.
Canada,
Yeah.
or whatever it's called. There's another one in
Mm.
Canada, right? Swedish Institute in Sweden, or maybe Hungary, Stipendium. Like every country has their own funding, right?
Yeah.
So I can sit here and do that video, but then when I could listen to those videos, because I did a few of them, when I could listen to them, I used to ask myself, how useful is
Yeah.
this information I'm providing?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I speak about something I've never applied.
Yeah. It's not a based on experience. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, the best way I could do this is I'll invite somebody who has gone through that experience. Then they can tell
That
me
makes sense.
based on their experience, so that at least if we are going to work on any information, it's about somebody who has already. So that's how I ended up building that platform, and now later it spiraled. It spilled down to a podcast.
That's amazing. And you're doing a good job. Like you interview a lot of people and it's like all kinds of scholarships. So whoever you are going to get what you are looking for, right? Whether it's the US, UK, everywhere. So that's amazing. Wow,
Yeah,
keep it up.
I
Wow.
try to create that balance so that at least we can have, because we have scholarships in Africa, we have scholarships in Asia, we have scholarships in the U in the
Yeah.
U in the wider European area, we have scholarship in the US and Canada. So yeah, I try
Do you
that.
think your school is a good school that people should consider?
I know it is a good school. It's not like I think. I know it is.
And based on the application, okay, no, go on.
Because I actually invited somebody from my uni to discuss about this whole experience, and somebody just left a comment saying, "Oh, you guys, were you marketing the school or the scholarship?" Because
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
yeah, so
nice.
I know it is a good one.
Yeah. And also, given the fact that you applied to 43, universities, most of them in the UK,
Mhm.
you've interviewed a lot of people, like all of that. What are some of the UK schools that you would recommend?
So I applied to 43 scholarships
Okay, but
by
not okay. So more like more than
yeah.
43 schools, right? Okay.
So no. The schools were fewer. I'll explain. So when I
Oh,
say
okay.
43, it means I applied for something like something like Commonwealth 20. So level 2, level 300 Commonwealth, level 400 Commonwealth, level
Okay.
okay. I was almost saying 500, but after now graduation, wish I got it also. So like Commonwealth was applied thrice before I figured it out, right? But the first two, I could say it was more or less like a joke. So I wouldn't say a specific uni, at least from my point of view. And this is why. If you want to be funded, you go where the funding is. Because some universities can fund you. Okay, let me correct that one. They are good universities, really good universities.
Yeah.
And you can get that aspect you are looking for. So for me, I look for something like a university that is not in a very busy city. That is my preference, because I want a place that there's nature and yeah, open place. You see, there are universities that are in cities. Something like Edinburgh is in the heart of the city, and it's actually the top university in Scotland. Something like Glasgow is in the city. It's also number 2 in Scotland. Birmingham is in the city. It is, I don't know. It is like they're really big and nice universities. Now, the next question would be, does that university fund whatever you are looking for? Because now, as I mentioned, I was so skewed into applying to quantitative program, that is quant finance or machine learning or mathematics. So I would only look towards the directions where that can be funded. So the list of universities I could recommend, probably depending on your preferences. If you want a university that is highly ranked, so of course you're going to look for the likes of Cambridge, you're going to look for the likes of Edinburgh, Oxford, UCL. If you are looking for places that are more or less affordable, then you better not look in London, because London is very expensive.
Yeah.
So you go away
Yeah.
from London. So Scotland could be a cheaper place to live. So that is how it goes.
Yeah. Also, given the fact that you've interviewed a lot of
Mhm.
people, what are some of the things that you've learned from them in terms of the application process?
Every time I interview somebody, sometimes I feel like there are a lot of things I don't know, and there are a lot of people who actually overlook themselves, even when they could potentially be very good candidates. The first story, that was not a podcast. The first story, no, the second one, and it was a very popular story that I wrote, was about. So I used to interview people, but I did not release them as podcasts. I would write the story. Was about a scholar who got Erasmus. He had a 2.2. So when he was explaining to me his story, I was like, wow, how did you do it? Then, so he gave me this whole chronology, and I went ahead. I wrote a very long post about it. It blew, like it was so popular,
Wow.
and that is what made my the management diary just visible out there. But every single day, you realize sometimes people. So somebody can be writing to me like, "I have a second app, but do you think I can get this chance?" I almost feel like I think you should read that story. Today, today as we speak, I had a guest from China, and when they started telling me the number of scholarships that are in China, I could not even believe it. Like there are so many that I've never heard of, even myself, who feels like I can tell you a scholarship that opens every single day. The same thing goes to Japan, places like Asia, like so that's Asian countries. So for every single person I interview, it turns out that these people know something that I've never had. And if somebody could get time to like listen to your podcast, I know you also. I knew you through your podcasts because sometimes I also go and listen to other creators'
Yeah.
conversations and get to learn stuff through those platforms. You can learn about a lot of scholarships. So somebody can just be like a bank on your reputation because there are people who have also been scammed when it comes to scholarships. So
Yeah.
I can look for somebody like I know Shy and I will bank on his reputation so that in a way that whatever comes from Shy in most instances comes as authentic funding because they do their research. So
Yeah.
so that way like people can find these opportunities. And another thing is you don't need to know anybody. At least that is one thing I know for sure. Because people be like, can you connect me to your university? I'm like, no, that's not how it
Yeah.
works. You just have to go there and compete free and fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. If you don't have the information, you can always send an email yourself and get the information. But then students will be reaching out, oh, who is going to this school?
Hmm.
Who is in this school? How can I get this? Like a lot of questions. I see so many questions and they are very irrelevant, right? If you really want to do the thing, you don't need such, people to give you those answers. Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes when people your audience can take you in fault, but it's because that question they're asking is probably answered elsewhere, or it's something that you can type into Google and still find a very good answer
Yeah.
that I could provide. Yeah.
Sometimes they don't want to check,
Yeah. So
They want you to spoon
I
feed
get
them
your
and
point. I mean, like we are in this same
yeah.
space, so I get more or
Yeah,
less of the
it's
same.
it's not easy. It's not easy.
Tough.
People think people think we don't care, but if you don't care, you will not be doing this if you think about it because it's not the time that goes into this and then the money that you may get or something. It's not if you look at the time, it's just, so yeah, and the other problem is that students think you're not doing anything, you're just sitting down.
Hmm.
So as soon as they reach out to you, then you start working with them, or start helping them. And also they don't understand that they are not the only people reaching out to you. There are so many other people reaching out for the same thing. Right.
You
They don't
see,
understand these things.
there's a reason I went to TikTok. So I used to, you see, when I open my LinkedIn, I get like so many messages. Like honestly, so
Yeah.
many messages,
Yeah.
so many comments. I cannot handle it. Like you see, like I cannot handle it. It's too much. So so I have a very small community on TikTok or probably an email. So that one is easier to manage. Now, one problem that I've seen because I've been doing this for years, for some time, is sometimes you create your time, you want to work with somebody, but you're doing it for free. And I think you mentioned this on the other conversation. People don't take seriously what you do for free. They don't.
Yeah, they don't.
So I stopped.
Yeah.
Like because
You,
you see, I could be out there working, making money, but I choose to like I'll listen to this
yeah.
person. We
Yeah.
chat for 1 hour. Then somebody does not show up. And we scheduled a meeting for, so you see it's
Yeah. It
things
happens.
like
Yeah.
that, so it becomes very very discouraged.
Yeah.
And now if somebody reaches out and you can't get back, you may be faulted, you're not responsive, so it is really kind of a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that this is life and you can't help everybody and you can't please everybody. Sometimes you can even help somebody and the person will still not appreciate it. So then, you just do what you can do. There are a lot of details about my life, a lot of sacrifices that I made for people.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, what do you get? So yeah, you still have to help those you can help. And then the rest, you make videos. If they really want to do it, they can actually take the videos and then do it themselves if they really want to, because it's all about how much you want something, right? If you really want it, you will find a way to do it. So,
That's right.
and I mean, the information is everywhere. There are a lot of contents online, a lot of resources that you can read and do everything on your own. It's not really difficult. If somebody says, "Oh, I want to study in the US," I have everything that a person needs, such that a person can go through themselves if they really want to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, and you have interviewed so many people for so many different scholarships. So if you want to, study in any country, there is a good chance that you've interviewed somebody who is in that country who can provide you with the information. Then you take the information and then you transform that information into a scholarship for yourself if you really want to do it, right? So yeah. But you personally, if you should start all over again, I mean, I feel like you did everything right, to some like after you graduated from the university, like your bachelor's degree. But then, if you should do it again, do you think there's something you would have changed?
Yeah, probably I'd be more strategic. I spent too much time trying to run east, west, left, right, and center. At least for now, I know for sure there are creators, there are people who write good guidance. It's not just the two of
Yeah.
us. You can go out there, check on Google.
Yeah.
Somebody has a whole blog about this. You can go listen to other podcasts elsewhere. You can check other videos elsewhere. I think I should have used that more during those days. But then these things, you only learn about them as you go. Yeah. So I should have been more strategic. That number is too high. Yeah.
What about if I come to you that help me make my application competitive? Like, what will you say? How can I make my application very strong?
Okay, what I can tell you to make your application strong, or me helping you, because those are two different things.
Yeah. No, like, just so more like, let's say in the comment section, then I'm like, what can I put in my resume that will make it stand out? What can I put in my SOP that will make it stand out? Something like that.
Okay, the probabilities. I'm going to give you a timestamp to a video if I have time. But to give a better answer to these things is like there's an aspect of being yourself. This is something that we are losing every day. So you can sit down and write like your story. Trust me, it's the same story you're going to use in most places. You're going to polish them up and to suit into the other side. So, for example, these scholarships, they are provided for a reason. Some of them are probably going to market a program. Some of them, they have an objective they want to meet. If you
Yeah.
go into their documentation of this funding and the advertisement documents, you will generally get an overall picture of why this funding is there. Write to show why you are the best candidate for that reason. Because if it is provided by UN and we are talking about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we want to meet these goals. Then you need to understand the SDGs, and then try to put your story and your experience and your target in a way that will make you an ideal person to handle this. Most of these funding opportunities are not about us as individuals, but they are about a problem or a solution that needs to be solved in a society.
Yeah.
So if I was to tell you what I could do to make my application better, is I would be more focused on the problems that needs to be solved and handled, what is needed by the society, unlike the individual, and then use my own personal experience to motivate towards how I can solve that. And sometimes it's also not very, in as much as you have to be like more or less like strategic. That is one thing I lacked. Instead of 143 applications, you could make 7 good applications.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about quality, not quantity.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's true. Yeah. So where can somebody follow you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. Like the Management Diary. That is my name on. Okay, my podcast's name on YouTube, and on LinkedIn you can also find the Management Diary, or just check out Omae Joseph as a person. Other platforms, okay, I'm still there on other platforms like Twitter and everything else, but the easiest way to reach me directly is TikTok, fortunately. Yeah.
That's good. What are your final words?
Try and try and try again. You see, I wanted this for a very long time. Like since level 200, since Form 2, since second year, I had always said I am going for a master's and I'm going for a PhD. I did a LinkedIn post when I was coming 2 days before I came here. I was like, guys, that was a LinkedIn post I did. I was like, I'm not coming back until I have a PhD. So this is something like you start dreaming very early, and everybody has their own unique dreams. So for you as Shy, you had your own ambitions. Somebody who is listening on that other side, maybe they're looking for funding for just a master's. Maybe they're looking for funding for a PhD. I would say like these things are there. These opportunities exist. And sometimes this, not all the time, but sometimes, most of the time, they are usually offered on a free and fair basis. I didn't know anybody. And up to date, I could say for sure all the funding opportunities that were provided to me, I didn't know a single person. It's just me and my laptop, and that's it. And I've also seen actually people who have even written their essays using phones, and they have still gotten them. So if you have any single resource, leverage on that. I mean, if you want to get somewhere, you have to pay a certain price. Whether that price is you
Yeah.
learning, or I don't know what other thing is out there, but at least you have to pay that price. So the price in this case could be you trying to learn, trying to work on your strengths, trying to show how you are a good candidate, trying to understand these things, be updated with current affairs in the world. Those are the things that are going into your applications. Those are the things that are going to support you as a person. And I hope to see you one day as a successful applicant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is really deep and very powerful. Wow. Like, yeah. But then you said something which I want to find out. So the LinkedIn post you made 2 days before you left Kenya, were you not worried about it? Where we come from, people are like, when you're traveling, don't tell anybody else, that kind of thing. Were you not worried about it?
Ooh, okay. Explain that part more.
So sometimes spiritual stuff, they will be like, if you tell somebody, the person will try to prevent you from traveling. So
Okay.
normally when you're traveling, don't tell anybody, right? So were you not worried about the LinkedIn post you made, or you knew people
Oh,
who are familiar with you were not going to see it?
I don't think, okay, my view of the world is different. And at least where I grew is, okay, it's not, I know those, I know what you're saying, but wherever I grew, it's not that strong in terms of that kind of belief. So,
Yeah,
so it also brings, it also gives you like,
a cushion to be able to say whatever you want to say and do whatever
yeah,
you want
like
to do. Right?
to be free to do stuff. Okay, there are things
Yeah,
because I said this when I know everything is okay. I'll only be picking my
yeah,
bags and going, right? That is the only thing I didn't have to say it prematurely, right?
yeah,
But then what I'm saying is I wasn't as
yeah.
scared as much about that. Yeah, at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't
Hmm.
really think, anybody can do anything, right? My opinion is, if you know how to do something, do it to help yourself,
Hmm.
not use it to destroy somebody's, stuff. So I don't believe in all those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ask you because, where we come from. Sometimes you have to. Yeah, but Omar, I have really enjoyed this. Like, this has been very insightful. I've learned so much from this, so much, and I'm not kidding.
Hmm.
So thanks so much, and yeah, I hope we get to talk again. So good luck to you.
Thanks for having me.